This is the Mary True Talk Show. My name is Marianne. And before we begin, thank you guys so much for tuning in, for supporting, for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button, click the little bell, that way you get notified when we go live, when I drop a video. I'm constantly dropping shorts, and follow me on X, Instagram, and I don't really use TikTok, but follow me there too. Mary_Truth. It's MARY_Truths with an S. All right, so before we begin, if you believe in wellness, if you believe in Make America Healthy Again, join our community. We are building a wellness community on our Patreon account. We have a wellness business called Mind Body Elevation, and our goal is to make America healthy again. We are building a coalition there. It is getting bigger, and I want you guys to be a part of it, because those of you who do invest in Patreon, I mean those who actually pay the monthly subscription, which is, by the way, only $5 a month, will have access to what we are building next. And I'm so excited about this. You have no idea, but I've already said too much. So join, subscribe, support, and let's begin. So we got a couple stories here. Alex Pretti story continues. We got a lot there to unpack. Don Lemon arrested. That was expected. At least for me, it was expected. Signal leak exposes protester network. So that is actually happening. People say that was a conspiracy, and that was never a thing. That was a right-wing conspiracy. Well, it turns out that it's not. All right, let's talk about Mandami says the rich won't leave if they pay more in taxes. We'll see about that, Mandami. Virginia proposes 50 new taxes. Good thing we went to Virginia beforehand. That would have sucked if it would have been there when they did that. New Epstein files released. We'll talk about that. Not much to know because they just released it, but we'll shed some light. And Cuba is now without Venezuela's subsidy, so they're finally feeling what it is to actually be a failure of a country. So that's happening too. All right, let's begin with Alex Pretti's story continues. We're going to start with a video I dropped on Instagram literally 6 days ago. Follow me on Instagram, Mary_Truths. Literally the day after I went live last Saturday. Let's take a look at that. So this dude right here is trying to remove his gun right there. And this dude is the one who shoots. He shot. This guy got up. You see that he got trying to get the gun. The gun's off. And he gets shot again. So the guy had a gun. He was disarmed. The other dude with the gun did not know that he was disarmed. He saw the gun before the other guy had removed the gun. He shot. The guy still got up, and you can tell that he was trying to get the gun, and they didn't know that he was disarmed when they saw that he was trying to search for the gun, and shot him again. Again, this is all seconds in between. We can say, well, the guy who took the gun away should have said he's disarmed, but at the end of the day, I'm not a police officer. I don't know what's going on in their heads in that moment in time. What I can say is, why was that protester there with a gun loaded with 2 magazines? All right, so I said that 6 days ago. I'm about to hit 1 million views on that, by the way. That's awesome. 900,000 something views. Pretty awesome. All right. So I said that, right? That was the statement and thought I had at the time. Now my statement has evolved because now we have more information that has recently come out. And, well, there's a new video that came out recently. However, I don't think the new video that came out recently has any connection to that video you just saw in slow motion. Okay, so a lot of people are saying, well, you see, this guy is not this kind, patient, polite person that Elizabeth Warren swore he was in this statement that she made about him. People were trolling because when she was saying that statement, you can see like that video that I'm going to show you in the background, which is pretty funny. But I don't think this video that we're about to see has anything to do with the video we just saw earlier. All right, so I just want to put that out there, put my 2 cents out there. All right, let's watch this video real quick.
The video begins with Pretti standing in a crosswalk and making an obscene gesture towards federal agents as they get out of an unmarked SUV. One of them grabs Pretti, tackling him to the ground while other agents pile on. They struggle on the pavement for several seconds before Pretti slips out of his coat and returns to the crowd of protesters. The agents eventually go back to their vehicles and leave. And before this confrontation, other videos circulating online show Pretti spitting at that unmarked SUV and kicking a taillight out before agents try to detain him. Now, the new video has rekindled the debate over Pretti's death, but an attorney for his family says this in no way justifies the shooting on Saturday morning.
It doesn't justify it. His behavior is the only thing that could perhaps...
The video begins with Pretti standing in a crosswalk and making an obscene gesture towards federal agents.
In that video, he says, "Assault me." It doesn't come out on that clip, but he literally says on that video, "Assault me! Fuck you!" You know, so yeah. Fuck guys! Get the fuck out of here! You know, you get the point. So, yeah. However, that video does not have any connection with when he got shot and died. So, zero connections. What that video shows is that the media's portrayal of him being this kind and polite person kind of loses a lot of credibility because, you know, I mean, a kind and polite person wouldn't, you know, tell federal officers, assault me or damage private property. So, which is, by the way, a taxpayer car that he just damaged. So, yeah, right there, they should have arrested him. I don't know why they didn't arrest him. That was already their mistake by not arresting him, because if it would have arrested him, he probably would still be alive today. However, that's not how the timeline had to go for whatever reason. So, now, they're saying, there's a lot of speculation. They're saying that when the gun that he had is a gun that is known to have a lot of what is that called when a gun fires without you like actually clicking on the trigger. What is that called? Safety? Yeah, like it's not like a Glock from a cop that is like it's one of the safest guns.
The Glock is the safest gun.
Okay, so the one that he had, according to people that are very, you know, pro guns, that's not the safest Glock to have.
That one isn't?
Yeah, the one that he had.
The type of Glock he had?
Yeah, I don't know the name of it, you know.
One of the newer ones.
Don't quote me on that. I'm just telling you what I've heard, okay? Because I have no idea. I don't know anything about guns. I'm totally for the Second Amendment. I am not against the fact that he had a gun. What I am against is the fact that he had a gun and he chose to be irresponsible knowing he had a gun. That's my position. I am not for this whole, you know, oh, he shouldn't have had a gun protesting. No, he definitely can protest with a gun, you know. I'm totally for that. However, you have to be extra responsible because you know you are armed and he wasn't. So that's my position, which I think is a pretty nuanced and logical position to have, okay? Now, the fact that the gun supposedly the gun fired by accident when they removed it. However, that's not, nobody in government has said anything about this. This is just people that know about guns who have said, oh, perhaps that first shot was the gun, and then they all got scared, and, you know, one of the guys said, gun, 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 and then everybody starts shooting at the guy. Another argument people are having that a guest that came on a couple months ago, and I blocked him off of Instagram, and he continues to comment on my videos because he is very opinionated, which I have no problem with. What I have a problem with is radicalism. That's the issue I have. I don't like radicalism because if you are radicalized, you don't think logically, and you don't want to actually listen to somebody else's perspective because you're too clouded by your own narrative that you can't fathom that perhaps you could be wrong, or perhaps there's another alternative view that might make more sense than the one that you choose to currently believe in. So I personally don't like radicalism. So this person, who in my opinion is radicalized, I have blocked, but he still comments on my videos. His name is Albeniz. Shout out to Albeniz. And this guy on my comment said not too long ago, well, why did they shoot? And a lot of people are saying this too, but I'm putting him out there because I know you personally, guy. That's why I'm putting you out there. It's not because you're special. So he and many other liberals, even though he claims he's an independent, he's a liberal, a radical one, says, well, why did they shoot 10 times? Well, if you've ever if you don't know anything about criminal justice, then you're not going to understand why. But FYI, to those who don't know, when you're taught criminal justice and you're taught some type of training when it comes to being a cop, it's very similar to military training. You shoot until it's not a threat anymore, until the target is no longer a threat. So you're not going to shoot once. You're going to shoot until the target is no longer a threat to you. That's how they're trained. So this narrative of like, oh, why did they shoot 10 times? Because they're trained to shoot until the target is neutralized. That's literally the training that they have. Now, you can argue, well, you know what? I don't agree with that training. That's fair. You can argue that you don't agree with the training, but to say that it was complete murder because they shot and there was 10 bullets in him is, again, a radical take because you're ignoring the fact that that's the training in the books right now. So a more reasonable approach would be, well, I don't agree that the training is you kill until you shoot until the target is neutralized. I don't agree with that. I think it's too cruel. That would be more reasonable. That would be a more reasonable statement. But unfortunately, people that are radicalized don't think reasonable because that's too difficult to do. But I personally think if you don't want to be radicalized, if you truly believe you are a truth seeker, you're always going to find the most pragmatic position. And there's always logical reasons to most things. Not everything is black and white, for sure. I agree with that. There are a lot of gray areas. I've had to learn that the hard way myself, just in life in general. But in this case scenario, the guy had 10 bullets shot at him because they're being trained to neutralize the target. That's their training. You can debate, well, we should reform it. Sure. But that doesn't change the facts as they are right now. So let's go on to the next one. This is current. This is happening today.
Josh Breslow, and I do want to get you right back to this breaking news that we are following coming in out of Minnesota. And first off, on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see there is yet another anti-ICE rally that is underway here as those demonstrators, about 100 or so, are gathered to line the streets. It's the same situation that we've seen happening over the past several weeks since the shooting death of Renee Good back on January 7th and the shooting of Alex Pretti 1 week ago today. Right now, what I want to do is pop this up on your screen and give you a closer look at that protest once again underway. A live image here as the protests, as federal judge there has denied the state of Minnesota's request to immediately stop the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement operation known as Metro Surge. Fox News reporting today's ruling says the state and 2 cities failed to meet high legal bar that's required to block a federal law enforcement operation at this stage of the case. Border Czar Tom Homan has been on the ground in Minneapolis since Monday as he's now heading up that immigration operation as a whole. Homan says he's met with state and local officials, including Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Homan explained that the administration's immigration mission would not change and the operation would not end. It would just be done in a safer way. Protests and demonstrations like this one, some of which have actually led to clashes between agitators and federal law enforcement, have ramped up following the January 7th shooting death of Renee Good by an ICE officer. And as I mentioned 1 week ago today, Alex Pretti was fatally shot by Border Patrol. After that, Commander Greg Bavino with Border Patrol was reportedly removed from Minneapolis as Holman was brought in. Now, the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, during a Friday news conference, we played that for you about an hour ago, said that an investigation is being conducted into the shooting death of Pretti during that protest. Now, we are also getting, as I mentioned here, reaction coming in on the legal finding that came out just about an hour ago here. We have Mayor Fry of Minneapolis saying, of course, we're disappointed. This decision doesn't change what people here have lived through: fear, disruption, and harm caused by a federal operation that never belonged in Minneapolis in the first place. This operation has not brought public safety, it's brought the opposite and has detracted from the order we need for a working city. It's an invasion and it needs to stop. Again,
all right, so the irony here is hilarious. So this guy, let me go back here. He just said blah, 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 and harm caused by a federal operation and never belonged in Minneapolis in the first place. So he said, he's pretty much saying ICE should not have been in Minneapolis in the first place. However, he did an interview recently with Stephen A. Smith, and when Stephen A. Smith asked him how many illegal immigrants are in Minneapolis, he straight up said, I don't know. So you don't know how many illegals are in your city, and yet you say that ICE shouldn't be there? Make it make sense, guy. Like, how does that make sense? How do you not know how many illegals are in your city, and at the same time you don't want ICE to do their job when you don't even fucking know how many are in there, bro? What do you fucking mean? No. I don't even know how many are here committing crimes, but I don't want you here figuring that out either. Like, I don't want you to expose my incompetence. That's what that sounds like to me. Now, let's continue here. This operation has not brought public safety. It's brought the opposite and you know why it's brought the opposite? Because you refused to listen to Holman last year when he literally told y'all, allow us into your jails and prisons. That's what he said a year ago, and you said, fuck you, all right? So because you said that, now 2 of your citizens are dead. Because instead of you literally listening to the federal government and just cooperated like you did under Obama's administration, well, you weren't mayor, but the one who was mayor cooperated because it's not a Democrat in power, it's a Republican, you want to play fucking politics. But now because Tom Holman is back in, now they're going to have no choice but to cooperate, because it is literally the reason why they're in the streets and they're knocking on doors is because you refused to allow them in your local jails to begin with, guy. If you had just done that last year, Good would have still been probably alive today, and so would have been Pretti. So again, blood is in your hands. Your hands. Nobody else here. If anybody's a murderer, it's you. All right, we can move on here. Let's go to Don Lemon.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Elizabeth Vargas. We begin tonight with the arrest of journalist Don Lemon, a move that escalates a legal and cultural conflict between the freedom of speech and the freedom of religion that ignited 2 Sundays ago in a Minnesota church. Just moments ago, Don Lemon left a Los Angeles courtroom where he was arraigned on charges of violating federal law. He is accused of conspiring to deprive churchgoers of their rights in a house of worship.
Like that blazer.
Lemon vowed that he will not.
He looks like Tiger Woods.
I want one.
Last night, the DOJ sent a team of federal agents to arrest me in the middle of the night for something that I'd been doing for
so bad
the
at
last
names.
30 years, and that is covering the news. The First Amendment of the Constitution protects that work for me and for countless of other journalists who do what I do.
Nah, fam, you're crazy.
I stand with all of them, and I will not be silenced.
Lemon's arrest late last night came
I will
after
not
two
be
judges
silenced.
rejected the DOJ's attempt to bring charges. Three
Oh,
other
man.
people and another journalist and two
You
protesters
gonna drop that
were also
soap, bro. That's what
arrested and
you're
charged.
gonna do.
It all ties back to January
Oh,
18th
man.
when Lemon went inside the city's church in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Sure.
He
Let me
says
say
he was there to cover anti-ICE protesters who proceeded to disrupt a church service. They chose this particular church, they say, because one of the pastors there is also a local ICE official.
Which has not even been verified, by the way. Just fun fact. All of this, and they have no fucking proof. That guy's like, oh, snap. That's a really nice church, too. That church is going to be forever famous now. Oh, snap.
Don Lemon said at the time in his live broadcast that he was there as a journalist,
Right.
not as a protester. Jesse Weber, legal analyst and host of Jesse Weber Live here on News Nation, and Chris Starwalt, News Nation political editor and host of The Hill Sunday. Great to have you both here. Jesse, I'm going to start with you. The DOJ says Don Lemon was conspiring to deprive rights and interfere with someone's religious freedom in a house of worship. Lemon claims, I was just doing journalism. How strong is
He
the case
wasn't
against
just
him?
doing
I
journalism.
didn't know what it was going to be until I saw this indictment, and I think the key...
Which was just released a very short
Just-
time ago.
I would encourage everybody to go to page 4. I think the most important part, when you talk about a conspiracy, there has to be a criminal agreement between everybody. There's an understanding. They allege that there was a pre-op briefing in a shopping mall. Now, what does that mean? Did Don Lemon have any kind of coordination, assistance, knowledge about what was going to be happening in this church? If that's the case, that is where you may cross the line from a passive observer into an active participant. And
Yep.
if there was an understanding and there was more allegations that he wouldn't reveal about where they were going. You played the video about him allegedly obstructing people from leaving. These are what, again, go to beyond the line of what questionable journalistic ethics versus a potential crime. Now, I'm not saying this is a slam dunk case at all, but now I have a better understanding of how prosecutors say they have the evidence that he
It's
was
not a
trying
slam
to deprive
dunk
people of
case,
the
but
right to
it's
practice.
a
In
pretty
Lemon's
good
live
airtight
stream,
one
he's
to
in-
get him
He shows himself
behind
in a
bars.
car with his crew, and they're talking about where they're going, and they know they're going to a church.
Yep.
And I mean, Lemon seems to be a little bit coy about revealing the name of the church on the live stream, but he clearly knew where he was going and what was going down.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I don't know if that part of it is going to be the end-all, be-all of it. I mean, if you
Journalists
knew
all the time get tips that
Right.
something's going down.
And he can go there, and he can report, and he
Okay.
can record, although you and I had an interesting conversation in today's day and age. If I took out a cell phone and put the camera on,
Yeah.
am I a journalist? But again, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
All right, Chris, the DOJ tried to get two judges to sign
a
an
good
arrest
point.
warrant for Don Lemon. Both judges refused, so the DOJ got a grand jury to indict him. The Trump administration clearly really wanted this arrest. Why?
I can only imagine that it's because the president really, really, really dislikes Don Lemon. Or maybe it's a good trophy. Maybe it's a way to
Oh,
say to
God, you're way over
base
your skis
voters
here,
who
buddy.
are upset about what
So
the
out of your-
administration had to say
no.
about the Second Amendment. That they
No,
go
definitely
after a loathed person of the recent past on the First Amendment. But I have to tell you both. I have to say it. You don't need a license to be a journalist. And we definitely don't want to get in the place where we say to the federal
you
government,
should know the laws.
you tell us when we're practicing
that's- you
journalism.
should know the laws.
And then we will comply. The First Amendment, we are the only profession, vocation that's mentioned in the Constitution. We're the only one, that's cool. But the First Amendment isn't for us. The First Amendment just is. And Don Lemon is not my kind of journalist. I don't know that what he was doing there would meet any definition of journalism. But I
Right.
think we have to be very,
Okay, so then what are you
very
saying?
careful
I don't
about when we
understand.
start talking about, does the federal government get to decide what is legitimate and
That's
what
not
is
the
illegitimate?
that's not the
when it comes to
argument. Can you pause that?
Yeah,
Oh my
'cause
God, I
here,
can't.
Chris,
The ignorance is insane with people with these people, these fucking elitists. That's not even the argument. Like, the argument is not what the federal government decides what's journalism or not. The argument is, did he violate the First Amendment right to freedom of religion? Yes or no? And the answer is yes, he did. He knew what was going to happen before it happened. He recorded himself saying it. And then he went in there. And then when the pastor told them to leave, they did not leave. Not to mention that he was literally questioning the pastor and justifying the protest to the pastor. So it's not like he was a neutral observer in all of this. He was an active participant in all of this. This guy is 60 years old. You would think a 60-year-old man would know better. Apparently not. Okay. What he said, though, about, maybe the Trump administration really wanted Don Lemon. Yeah. You know why? Because if they allow this to slide, any other claimed journalist, identified journalist, can go into, for example, if they don't actually get him behind bars, like if he doesn't actually face accountability, like what they did to January 6th, yeah, I'm bringing that back to all of those radicals out there who love to talk about January 6th. If they don't arrest this guy, Nick Shirley, Nick Porter, all these guys that are considered to the left-wing media right-wing content creators or journalists or independent journalists, whatever you want to call them, can easily go to a mosque and start doing the same thing they did in that Christian church. And I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be pretty if you were to do that. So this guy and everybody who was a part of this has to face accountability, because if they don't, I'm telling you right now, a lot of people are going to start doing the same thing, and they're not going to go to Christian churches, they're going to go to mosques. Because like I said last week, would they have done this shit at a mosque? Probably not. They happen to just do it at a Christian church because according to them, with zero evidence and verification, the pastor is an ICE director or whatever the hell. So this has to be, I don't know, it doesn't even have to be airtight, dude, because none of the indictments on Donald Trump were airtight. They were all bullshit cases. And yet the guy was almost facing prison time. I mean, he was fucking sentenced in New York City, for crying out loud. He just didn't face a sentence because A, it was bullshit, and B, he became president. And that would have been like super, like just unprecedented if you were to sentence a literally sitting president. That would have been ridiculous, absurd, banana republic for sure. So it doesn't really have to be airtight. It just has to be good enough to actually get the jury to be like, yeah, they're guilty, in order for the judge to then say, all right, this is the time you're gonna serve. Whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, it don't fucking matter. J6ers served 4 years of their life, and some of them literally just walked in the Capitol. People that recorded everything, didn't put their 2 cents, just recorded everything, had to serve prison time too. So why is this any different? No one is above the law, remember? Yeah, exactly. That goes for them too. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. I believe this is Cuomo and
the president.
Oh, this is really loud. Yeah.
Just arrested 2 journalists. Now I think that he's almost in double down mode. I thought he was in de-escalate mode. Now he's having journalists arrested.
Well, he arrested journalists for committing crimes and then filming themselves committing crimes and then talking and admitting on camera to committing those crimes. So, you know, just because you say you're a journalist doesn't mean he violated the FACE Act in 18 U.S. Code Section 241, among others.
You think he used force? Yeah, well, look, just because you know the number of the statute, bravo, you probably know the acronym.
I just read the
also,
indictment.
But they also want to throw the Ku Klux Klan Act after.
Oh, man.
The indictment,
I just read the indictment.
As a lawyer, let me
Clearly
tell
he did
you,
it.
not an impressive document. And you should
well,
read
the 2
into why
lawyers who
that
just
felony
had on,
complaint
Chris,
that they tried
disagreed with
originally got signed. Well, no, they're
listen.
worried. They're worried about the application. They're worried about the
because
application.
They like Don
How
Lemon,
did
and
Don
they said,
Lemon
look,
or Georgia Fort use force or intimidation? How did they use force or intimidation? Fundamental part of the mens rea of that statute. How?
Chris, I think it's laudable that you want to defend your friend. Don Lemon said on camera that the purpose of the event that he was actively participating in was to traumatize people. And he said that is good. That is what that is
yeah,
for.
he said it was
he went
to
in there, he
disrupt
admitted on camera.
and
You're believing the woman
and
who
to make them
organized it
uncomfortable.
for some reason. You're not believing Don Lemon, your own friend. He said that he knew a secret. He knew about what they were doing in advance.
Yep,
he wouldn't say it on
exactly.
camera.
Yeah,
he served coffee to his fellow activists in there. He violated the FACE Act. He conspired against
know
rights.
where it
And
was
it was a
going.
very important point. You
That
cannot
doesn't
claim
mean
First
anything.
Amendment
Just because they were
protections
told
while you
in
actively
advance doesn't mean
violate
you
the First Amendment
participated in
rights
it.
of others. My friend Chris Bell, his wife Joan Bell, was in prison for 27 months over this for an abortion clinic.
Yeah, that's another thing. Okay, pause. take it off. Just put me on. All right, so first on the Daily Signal, okay, City's Church, a St. Paul church invaded by agitators opposing immigration and customs enforcement, responded Friday after federal agents arrested former CNN host Don Lemon Thursday night in Los Angeles. We are grateful that the Department of Justice acted swiftly to protect City's Church so that we can continue to faithfully live out the church's mission to worship Jesus and make him known, Jonathan Parnell, the church leader pastor, said in a statement first provided to the Daily Signal. Renee Carson and Doug Wardlow, the attorneys for True North Legal, who represents City Church, also celebrated the arrest. The freedom to worship God without fear of violence and intimidation is a fundamental right that defines who we are as Americans, the attorney said. True North Legal and City's Church are grateful that the Department of Justice is committed to uphold that freedom and is holding the agitators who invaded the church accountable. Now, Don Lemon was taken into custody by federal agents last night in Los Angeles, where he was covering the Grammys award. Lemon's attorney, Ab Lowell, who I believe was the same attorney for somebody else that I can't remember right now. Hunter Biden, wrote in a statement posted to Lemon's show on YouTube, Don has been a journalist for 30 years and his constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he has always done, Lowell added. The First Amendment exists to protect journalists, not just journalists, also people who believe in faith. You see how they're choosing one over the other? Whose role it is to shine light on the truth and hold those in power accountable. He doesn't shine light on the truth. He's a fucking partisan hack. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed the arrest and also mentioned that federal agents arrested Tehran, Gene Cruz, Georgia Fort, and Jamal, whatever, other people. The Justice Department initially sought charges for Lemon, among others, for violating the Ku Klux Klan Act and the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrance Act earlier this month when he entered City's Church in St. Paul amid an invasion of the service. The Klan Act criminalizes the deprivation of rights, and the Justice Department has claimed the church invaders deprived worshipers of their First Amendment right to religious exercise. Yes, fact. The FACE Act protects access to house of worship, which is a funny thing about this one is that this was done because Democrats wanted to protect people that were getting an abortion done. So they passed a FACE Act that way people that were protesting against women getting an abortion would get charged. And under Biden's administration, if y'all don't remember, I will remind you, they were arresting people because they were protesting in front of abortion clinics. So how is this any fucking different? And they were arrested outside the clinic. These motherfuckers went inside the church. Inside the church. And you mean to tell me they're not accountable? No. No one's above the law, remember? Yeah, I'm going to keep saying that. Let's keep going. A federal magistrate judge, however, refused to sign a warrant for Lemon's arrest, of course, and we all know why. Last week we found out because the wife is working for the Attorney General of Minnesota. So a lot of corruption there. The Justice Department appealed that decision, but the court noted that prosecutors could improve the filing before presenting it to the same judge or present the case to a grand jury, which they did, and the grand jury said, yes, there's enough to indict this guy. The Justice Department withdrew the appeal earlier this week, and it seems prosecutors found another way to bring the case. Yep. So, let's see here. Breaking, Don Lemon's attorney, Abolo, has confirmed that federal agents arrested them. Oh, okay. All right, let's see here. What's the defense? Lemon has claimed that he went to City Church merely to cover the agitation as a journalist and did not intend to violate anyone's rights. Lowell faulted the Justice Department for pursuing Lemon rather than the federal agents who shot Renee Good and Alex Pretti, both 37, amid the surge of federal law enforcement in Minneapolis. Instead of investigating the federal agents who killed two peaceful Minnesota protesters, they were not peaceful. They were rioters. They were also criminals before they got shot in the first place. But these people are literal liars, and they will continue to lie to save their own ass. This guy's cooked. The Trump Justice Department is devoting its time, attention, and resources to this arrest. Because he violated the law. And that is the real indictment of wrongdoing in this case. Lowell wrote, this unprecedented attack on the First Amendment and transparent attack to distract attention from the many crises facing this administration will not stand. Okay, we'll see about that, tough guy. Dunn will fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. That's fine. He will pay all the legal fees and make you richer, his ass is still gonna go to jail. Renee Carlson, who represents City Church as general counsel for True North Council, had highlighted a previous statement suggesting that even if Lemon avoids all criminal liability, he may face civil liability. The First Amendment does not allow premeditated plots or coordinated actions to violate the sanctity of a sanctuary, disrupt worship, and intimidate small children, which that's also on camera. Carlson said in a previous statement she highlighted the Daily Signal, there is no press pass to invade a sanctuary or to conspire to interrupt religious services. Yes, 100%. 100%. I want him behind bars. I want him behind bars, and everybody who was a part of this behind bars. You are not allowed to violate somebody else's right because you believe your right is more righteous. No. You deserve the same fucking prison time that J6ers did. If people thought J6ers were terrorists, well, so are these guys. So, I think if we're going to treat one group one way, we should apply that same concept to another group who essentially did the same shit. So, that's just how that's how it should be, right? Nobody's above the law. We should apply the law equally, right? So I think it's perfectly justified, reasonable, logical to arrest every single person involved in this case. And let's move on to the next one. What's this one about?
Trump feds won't interfere with ICE protests.
No. Moving on. Signal leak exposes protester network. All right, cool. So, there's a guy called Cam Higby, I think that's how you say his name, who literally got inside the protester network that's in Minnesota, and he's exposing the fact that these people are professional agitators. They're not actual, like, it's not an organic protest. These are people that are probably paid actors to try to make ICE's job and Border Patrol's job as difficult as possible. So that's the first page, and it says, dispatch, please advise tactics for fighting the federal opposition of Minnesota by ICE. And that's what it says. I can't really read it. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Okay, go to the next one. I think this is a slide.
Yeah.
All right. So that's part of their handbook. What are the highlighted stuff say?
Throw ICE off their course, waste their time, and force them to drive away, escalate at ICE abductions, and create potential flashpoints.
Yeah, that's all federally illegal. That's literal obstruction. So that's a federal crime. What's the next one? What does that one say?
Determine the goal. Is the goal to stop an abduction, de-arrest someone / multiple individuals, create a blockade to prevent ops from coming or going, push back on the creation of a boundary or something else? Consider what it will take to accomplish the chosen goal.
Consider what it will take to accomplish
the chosen goal.
Radicalism, dude.
And whether the rest of your present AG is on board with said goal is achievable based on who is present. Oh, is it achievable based on who is present?
This is literal a handbook for radicalism. That to me sounds like if you have to end your life, do it for the cause. That's literally what that sounds like to me.
Yep.
Like, which is what I was saying last week. Like, we have people that are literally choosing to risk their life for a cause that they're not going to win because you're fighting for people that are not supposed to be here to stay here. Like, that's what you're fighting for. You're fighting for taxpayers to have to pay for people that have never paid into the system. Mm-hmm. That's what you're paying for. You are literally, essentially, you're a traitor to the country. That's what that means to me. If you are choosing to be a part of something like this, you are a traitor to the country. You are anti-American. Now, this guy sent this guide to the feds, and now there's a bunch of text messages going around to everybody saying that the organized chat network has been compromised. I think that's on the next one. If you can find it really quick, because I saved that one too. See if you can find it. No. See if you. I think it's on the next link.
No, that's the one that doesn't.
Oh, that one doesn't work anymore?
Yeah.
Ah, damn, they took it down. Okay, so it was a screenshot of, because this guy, Cam Higsby, got inside the network in Signal. And he started screenshotting that a bunch of messages started like saying the same thing, essentially saying somebody is in here that's not supposed to be in here, and this chat has been compromised. Abort the chat or something like that, something along those lines. Sort of speaking in like military code. Ridiculous. These people are like gone, far gone. I don't think they're ever going to come back, to be honest with you. But they're also going to get these people too, because once now they have proof that this is an organized like system, this is not organic, they're going to start to look at who's funding this. And Bill O'Reilly was saying not too long ago on News Nation that there is an American who lives in Shanghai, who is like a billionaire, who is obviously a communist, who is funding, I mean, the fact that you're living in a communist country and you're American says everything. And he's funding, allegedly, these organized protests, quote unquote. So if they can get everybody in this network, they will find the money, hopefully, because that's a really big shark if you can get that guy. It's a really, really big shark, because then we can say, well, were you working with China? Was China involved in all of this? Because that would be a bigger shark too. Let's go on to Mandami. Mandami says the rich won't leave if you pay more taxes. I don't know about all that, Mandami, but we'll see, bro.
At City Hall this morning, and joining me right now in an exclusive interview is New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. We've wanted to talk to you for a very long time about so many different issues going on with the city. But I know that
if you can like skip it a little bit and go to like
one of your first,
the middle, like right, like somewhere there.
I have to show that this city government is not just serious about public goods, but also public excellence and public efficiency. That's what it is. And so we have to make sure every dollar that's being spent is actually being spent in a worthwhile way.
All right, you know what? Pause it. Let's be smart about this. Pause it. Go to the transcript like I've showed you before. And find where he talks about increasing to a 2% tax. Okay.
5% of the state's revenue. We only receive 40.5% in return. And if we had actually bridged that gap over the Cuomo years, we'd be talking about receiving an $8 billion additional every single year.
Do you go after that money first, or do you go after the additional tax dollars on the wealthiest New Yorkers first?
I think as a New Yorker, you always have to do all of the above. And so we have to both increase taxes on the wealthiest, we have to also change the relationship with the state, and we have to pursue these kinds of savings and efficiencies here in our city.
Speak to this, because one of the biggest issues about taxing the wealthiest New Yorkers is the possibility that they leave New York. So the top 1% of New Yorkers pay somewhere between 40 and 48% of the total revenue for New York City taxes.
What?
If a couple hundred of them...
I thought that rich people didn't pay their fair share. Crazy. I learned something new today. They actually pay over 40 to 50% of taxes? Okay. That's good to know. CBS is saying this, by the way. All right. I'm ready. Or CNBC,
mobile,
whatever.
Have a private plane and can live in Florida and come here, 150 days a year. That's a problem. What do you do about that?
I think you get back to first the facts, because capital flight is always spoken about whenever we talk about the potential of increasing taxes on the wealthy. What we've seen is that since 2021, when New York State increased taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers, the number of millionaires actually increased in this state. And so it has to be to get back to the facts. The second thing also has to be, we are increasing revenue also to be able to increase quality of service, right? We're sitting here right now in one of the coldest stretches in New York City weather history. One of the reasons why the city could start to get back on its feet was because we had a sanitation department that was staffed by thousands of people to the extent that we could have 2,500 workers on every 12-hour shift. That's only possible when you're actually investing in public service.
You talk about more millionaires in New York City, and that's true. But at the very tip of the spear, I'm talking maybe even the billionaires, their ability to be mobile seems higher. And so the question is, you look at a state like New Jersey. David Tepper was a hedge fund manager in New Jersey who left the state. All of a sudden, they lost something like $140 million in revenue annually.
Yep.
And so the question is, if you lose a couple of those people, is that in your mind okay? Is that a cost of doing business? Or is that a...
Yo, what's up with that guy?
Yo, that guy's pupil is weird, man.
Maybe he's on something.
Yep. Nah, bro. That should look like a slit.
Oh, well, you know.
You see it?
I don't, because I'm far away from you.
Damn, that's weird.
You can zoom in?
Let me see if I can zoom in. No, I can't zoom in. Damn.
If you can take a picture, maybe you can screen. We're totally like ignoring like the video right now, but if you can take a screenshot of it.
I got you. You
that's
you got to see
this.
this.
That's not what I meant, but okay.
I mean, it's the fastest way to show you.
Let me see. Whoa.
Yeah. That's
oh,
wild.
Shit. Oh man, I think you caught something there, bro.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that definitely. I mean, it's not like a full slit, because it's like, but it's definitely not normal.
It's pretty bad.
Problem, and what do you do about that?
Well, I think I have to prove that this increased revenue leads to an increased quality of life. And frankly, we also have to get through the kind of fear-mongering that typically takes place in this. The other day, I was speaking to a New Yorker who self-identified themselves as someone who would be taxed by our proposals.
Self-identified.
I've heard that you're going to tax millionaires. Is that true? I said, yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to increase personal income taxes by 2%. They said, I'm going to leave, like you're saying. I said, I don't think you will. They said, why? I said, because it's a 2% increase. We're talking about $20,000 on an income of $1 million. They said, that's actually much less than I thought it would be. I wouldn't actually be making a financial decision on the basis of that kind of an increase.
Right. So, what's funny about this is...
Good morning.
What I find very amusing is that these communists, that's what he is, he's a Marxist, who claim he's a socialist, which is just soft communism. They're like, oh, it's just 2%, but 2% can become 5%, and then 5% can become 10%, because, they're never going to be happy with 2% once you have accepted that you're going to pay 2%. It's like telling a deadbeat, like, he tells you, oh, I need $5. You give him $5. And the next day, oh, I need $10 now. And you give him $10. And then the money doesn't stop. So there's always, these people are always going to want more money. Because when you've never actually worked for anything in your life, especially him, because at least the guys before him have. At least Eric Adams, who I didn't agree with most of his tenure, at least he was a decent person. He was a cop. He worked, so he actually knows what it is to pay bills. This guy's what do they call those? Nipple babies or whatever? Nepo baby? Whatever. Eso mismo. That, whatever you call that. He's a privileged guy. Never worked a day in his life. All he's done is work for nonprofits, which, no offense to nonprofits, if that's all you've done, it's not a legitimate job. You're asking for donations. Your job is to get people to donate to you, okay? So I personally don't think this guy, he's way over his head. This guy doesn't know what he's actually talking about. He has no actual real experience, and he's asking people with a lot of money who have worked their ass off for it, hey, give me more of your money because I definitely know what to do with it versus you. That's literally what he's saying. I know how to use your money better than you do. And the reality is, how can you, as a business owner, believe him when he's never worked a job in his life? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And again, it's too soon to make a full judgment, but I have a really strong feeling he's going to be wrong and people will leave the state. Not just the city. They will leave the state. They are already leaving, and they're going to continue leaving to Florida. Unfortunately, we don't want you here because you're making everything more expensive, but we understand why you're coming here because unlike New York, we're business friendly. So Let's move on to Virginia, who's also not very business friendly. We got engaged in Virginia, and that's probably one of the most memorable experiences of our lives, obviously. And it is a shame that we're now going to be able to go back because if they actually do increase the taxes there, we're not going back to Virginia, which is very sad because I really, really like that state. I saw myself even buying property there. I was like, damn, this is a nice state. But after this woman came into office, I had a feeling I'm like, this is not going to be good for Virginia. But hey, this is what you voted for. It's what you get. Let's take a look.
Big election last year in Virginia. Abigail Spanberger and Virginia Democrats won big because they told voters that they would reduce the cost of living and improve affordability in the Commonwealth. But this legislative session, a lot of Virginia Democratic lawmakers have proposed over 50 new tax increases and proposals. I'll read some of them to you. They include additional local sales tax in all Virginia counties and cities, new personal property tax on electric leaf blowers and electric landscaping equipment, large employer tax, gun and ammunition tax, new income tax brackets, a delivery tax. This would hit you if you ordered things on Amazon, Uber Eats, UPS, FedEx, etc. Investment income tax, event tax, concert tax, storage facility tax, gym membership tax, dog walking tax, dog grooming tax, counseling tax, got to catch my breath, digital personal property tax, new car taxes and highway use fees, increase in the hotel tax here in Arlington, statewide speed cameras. Now, those aren't taxes, but drivers would pay more fines if that went through. A dry cleaning tax, concert tax, home repair tax, and a vehicle repair tax. Now, I did reach out to Spanberger's office and Don Scott's office. He's the speaker here in Virginia, as well as the leader in the Senate, asking them, how would all of this make life more affordable to you? We'll put their responses on our webpage, WJLA.com.
Yeah, so they were lying. They just said affordability because that's the new marketing term to get elected if you're a Democrat. But when they go into power, they do the opposite. They make things seem even more expensive. Everything Democrats say they're going to do, just think the opposite. That's what they're actually going to do. That's how it is. The Inflation Reduction Act did not decrease inflation and made everything worse. It had nothing to do with inflation, everything to do with the Green New scam. So everything they say they're going to do is the opposite. Just know that. Okay. And it's a shame because I wanted to go back to Virginia. Maybe we will when this lady is out of office. Epstein files released another 3+ million documents that nobody has read yet because it's too much. What's going on? What does CNN got for me? Let's see.
The Department of Justice releasing its remaining documents from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Deputy Attorney General Todd Bland saying the records will be posted throughout the day, including more than 2,000 videos, more than 180,000 images. Some of the material so explicit, you have to verify being an adult before you can actually access it.
Many of Epstein's survivors have been publicly pushing for years to have these documents come out, but it took a law passed with near unanimous support in Congress to finally bring these documents to light.
Victims of Mr. Epstein have gone through unspeakable pain, and there's nobody that should say anything differently. And I to the extent that there's frustration, I understand where that comes from, just from what we know about Mr. Epstein. I hope that the work that the men and women within this department have done over the past 2 months hopefully is able to bring closure.
CNN's Evan Perez is here with us now. And Evan, there's been a lot of speculation about President Trump being named in these files. And we're learning now the FBI actually compiled a list of allegations related to the president back in August. What are you learning?
Right. So this was in 2025 that the FBI compiled a list of all of these sexual assault allegations that involved the president of the United States, that some of them stretch back years, decades, that were associated with this case. And we don't know what of anything is actually credible here. As a matter of fact, we believe that a lot of these could not be verified. Some of them were second and third hand accounts that people were relating things, and that's the way the FBI works, right? Some of this is in 302s, what they call 302s, which are essentially witness statements, and anyone can make any allegations. The FBI takes it down, and then it takes time and effort to try to verify whether any of that stands. And so that appears to what has happened here. And what's notable here is that there's some of them that have very salacious accusations about the president. And again, a lot of them are unverified at all by the FBI. It appears that at least a couple of the documents that we're talking about here have been removed since they were posted earlier by the Justice Department. We don't know why that is. They've done this in previous tranches that they've released. But look, I mean, we know that Jeffrey Epstein and the President of the United States were friends, that they were close friends for a period, and then they had a falling out. The president has described that over the number of years, and he's also said repeatedly that he had nothing to do and did not know anything about about the activities, the illegal activities of Jeffrey Epstein with underage girls. And so that's what's notable. One of the notable things, a lot of these documents, 3.5 million documents in all that have been released in all of the Justice Department's work here. They've had hundreds of lawyers over the last few weeks who've been focused only on this, leaving behind all their other work to try to meet this deadline, which of course they've blown past by a number of weeks. And so we are still going through a lot of these documents. Some of them are things we've seen before, including things related to the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Of course, she was convicted in 2022 for being associated with some of these crimes. And so we're still going through a lot of these documents to see what else we learn in here. There was also some allegations about Bill Clinton. A lot of Bill Clinton mentions here, including someone who was his former White House counsel, who makes reference to Jeffrey Epstein. She worked as a lawyer, apparently for Jeffrey Epstein and his estate, and refers to him as Wonderful Jeffrey and things like that. So there's a lot of political figures associated with Epstein, which is not surprising given the company that he kept.
Evan, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it.
The Justice Department is in the process of releasing its...
That's it. Cool. All right. Well, I mean, we don't really know anything yet because I am not going to go through 3 million plus documents. So I'm going to let them do that for us, and we will find out what they find, what the videos are about, I don't know if they're going to be able to show any of the videos because apparently you have to go through a database and prove that you are adult to look at the videos. So I mean, I have no interest in watching any videos where I have to prove that I'm an adult. So but regardless, they can describe what they saw, and we will have our perspective on it. We will have our comments on it. I'm gonna stick to what I've always said, that people only care because Donald Trump's name is on it. If people really care, this should have been done during Biden's administration. Because at the end of the day, at the end of Trump's administration, this first term, is when Epstein got, supposedly, according to the feds, he killed himself. But I don't believe that. So let's just go with what they're saying. He, quote unquote, killed himself. And Ghislaine Maxwell is serving time. I don't understand why under Biden's administration this wasn't released or attempted to be released. So and the fact that it's being released under Trump's administration shows that there's actual transparency or attempt to be transparent versus under Biden, it was all censorship and lies and secrecy and cover-ups, which is hilarious considering the radicals are saying they're covering up for Trump because he's apparently a pedophile, and yet the actual exposure and releases are happening under his administration, not the one before. Question that a little bit before you start making these stupid accusations. And I'm saying stupid because there's no verification that he is a pedophile. So I don't like to call people anything that we don't really know is even true. Okay, so let's go on to the last one. Cuba is now without Venezuela's subsidies. They're finally realizing what it is to be a third world country. And I'm sure they've always known, but now they really know because now they have no fuel. And we're going to take a look at what our country that, it's not really a country anymore, but, it's still our country because we were born there. But I would never fight for Cuba. Look at that. They still got horses. I'm telling you, these people are like back in time.
No para mí, para todo el mundo la vida está muy dura. ¿Qué más le puedo decir? No le puedo decir más nada porque la vida real, esto está crítico, esto no avanza.
¿Qué significa crítico?
Los precios de la alimentación del ser humano, por lo menos las necesidades principales. Todo en vez de bajar lo que va subiendo. No hay un salario que te respalde el mes. Todo está crítico. Todo está crítico.
Where is that? I wonder what part of Cuba that is.
I don't know. It all looks the same.
They're feeling it because there's no fuel. In 20 days, that's what we heard, right? In 20 days, they're gonna be with no fuel left. So they're gonna realize what a bad idea it is to rely on another country for fuel.
Un mes y pico, y todavía no me ha llegado la venta de los cupés en moneda nacional, está parada. Puede ser que le sirvan a uno en algún lugar determinado, pero como tal, como estaba antes, que en el mes cogía una vez y quedabas pendiente ya para el otro mes cerquita, no. Eso ahora en estos momentos no sucede. Entonces se está abriendo la venta en divisas, en dólares, y es la que está sirviéndole al pueblo.
Sounds like his welfare check is no longer coming. That's what that sounded like to me. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Coupon currency? I don't know what the hell that is.
Ahora mismo está crítica, ahora mismo no hay guagua, el transporte como tal, aquí los carros, como ustedes ven ahí, cobran caro porque...
Esa es en la pequeña Habana.
El combustible está caro, el petróleo está a 500 pesos, la gasolina 800, 1000 pesos y todo está caro, aquí todo está caro.
¿Y qué
¿Cuándo era barato?
No, papi, no es que es caro. It's not that it's expensive, it's that they don't pay you enough.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't pay you
How are they
enough.
gonna pay you if they're not making money? Like
They get paid like $50 a month, dude.
Yeah, and it's not only that. It's not even that. It's the fact that if you're not going to,
And that's not dollars like American. That's like pesos.
That's pesos. Yeah, exactly.
Which is nothing.
And it's crazy because they get paid like, let's say $50 in Cuban dollars, right? But like, let's say if they want to buy chicken, it's like $100 in pesos, and they're getting
and the
paid
doctors
$50
be getting paid $120
a month.
A month.
All right. So like, what are you gonna afford if your monthly salary is less than what produce is? It's insane. And this is a country that has literally the dirt, the soil for agriculture. One of the best meats you can ever consume. If they were to actually use Cuba for what it's meant for, they would have great meats there. I mean, aside from fruits, of course. But I'm telling you, like, the amount of money that this country can make off of their actual resources is insane. I mean, I recently found out by your dad, I didn't even know this, that Cuba has fuel. I had no idea. Like, they have their own...
Yeah.
They have their own fuel. Like, their own... what do you call it?
They have a lot of crude oil.
Crude oil, yeah. I didn't even know that.
Amount. The reason why they haven't tapped into it because they don't have the equipment or the money to fund the equipment to process it.
So then what I think is going to happen is they're waiting for the regime to fall and surrender because if you don't have any fuel, like, what are you going to do? The people there are going to lose their shit because, like, you can't work, you can't move, you can't do nothing. Everybody's going to go to the streets, and then the American government is going to pressure the government of Cuba to pretty much, wave the white flag, bro, you're done. That's it, it's over. To surrender, in order for the same thing to happen in Venezuela to happen in Cuba. Because if what your dad said is true, that there is resources that, again, American companies can capitalize on, do it. Do it right now, bro. Do it right now. I'm telling you. I truly believe, if you're not Cuban, you'll know what this means. But there's a very famous artist called Willie Chirino, and he made a song saying, "Ya viene llegando." And how do I translate that? Like, it's coming.
It's coming, yeah.
It's coming.
It's on the way.
It's on the way. Exactly, yeah. It's on the way. And, I mean, he did that song like 30 years ago, I think. But, you know, Cubans always have that belief that eventually Cuba will be free.
Yeah, it's been coming for like 50 years
It's
now.
been coming for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost here. And I think it's going to happen very, very soon. Because I saw the hearing of Marco Rubio.
Yeah. No, yeah, now is definitely I think we're the closest.
Yeah, and Marco Rubio literally said it. We want a regime change there.
Yeah.
He said it. And what I like about this guy is that he's fucking transparent as hell. Like that, I've never heard such a transparent hearing. Like, it's always so politically correct. He wasn't trying to be politically correct. I encourage you to watch it. I mean, it's 3 hours, you know, but it's worth listening to because it shows that there's actual transparency in this administration. Whether you like the administration or not, unlike the last one, they're not lying to you. They're not playing games with you. They're telling you exactly what they're going to do, and they do it. And I respect that. And this guy literally straight up said, even after the senator said, do you want regime change? Should there be regime change in Cuba? And he said, we do want regime change in Cuba. And I respect that. I do. Because most people would lie and say, no, we don't want that. That's not what we want. But the reality is, of course, that's what we want. It's 90 miles from Florida, Miami to be exact. Why the hell wouldn't we want that? We don't want Russia there. We don't want China there. We want to be there. We want to capitalize on that. So, I mean, it's just real talk, bro. Just say the truth.
Strategically, economically, it would just be great if, you know, Cuba becomes a territory of the States.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Not only do they have oil, they have cobalt. They have gold. They have the island is abundant.
Yeah.
And it has not been tapped into.
Yeah, it's completely virgin.
To its full potential.
Yeah.
Not only as strategically, like where it is, it's insane.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good for import and export too because the location is in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you right now, Cuba.
It not only will our state will benefit economically, but its citizens will benefit economically because you can invest in Cuba. You can buy property in Cuba and you will make money.
Exactly. And those who own property in Cuba, those Cubans who own property there still, like my family still owns a property there. If the American investments go there, the properties there will actually have value because right now they don't have any value. So that will also benefit Cuban nationals too. And again, it will get Cuban nationals to go back to their country and build their country back up, just like Venezuelans want to go back to their country and build it back up again. So I think it's a great idea. And I'm not saying that just because I'm Cuban. I'm saying that because for America, it's a great investment. So, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much for supporting us. If you believe in this channel, subscribe. Click that little bell, that way you get notified for the next time. I do shorts, every single day. Follow me on Instagram, X, and TikTok, Mary_Truth, and become a truth seeker. Stay safe. Bye.